Today's video is about the body language of figures. Yeah, there's a lot going on here. I'm just kidding. This video is all about the body language of lying. Let's do it. So just like the other body language videos, I'm gonna premise and say that body language must be read in clusters, and particularly with lying because it can be so elusive. Now that said, let's start, shall we? So people will try to cover their mouths when lying. This is easy to see on kids because they're going to be a lot more obvious about it. But teenagers and adults, they're going to be a little more subtle about it. For example, they'll just barely touch their mouth or maybe just itch it.
There's a series of documents that total almost $50,000 to limo land in 2013 and 14. You have to answer yes.
Yes.
Wait, so what actually happened? Yeah. Do you guys believe her?
Yeah.
However, also keep in mind that this could mean that they're just holding back info as opposed to outright lying. Next, you may notice that the other person might touch or rub their nose. This is obviously very similar to the last example.
And plus, Travis is my ex-boyfriend, but at the same time, he's my friend. So while I'm mourning my friend, how do you talk to your new potential possible maybe person that you might start dating about your friend, even though he was your ex-boyfriend? So it's kind of a gray area.
August 1st, October 28th, total of over $1,700 to Monsieur Clothing in New York.
I don't know.
But again, who knows? Maybe their nose is just itchy. Isn't this fun? It just means that you may need more than one indicator to prove that somebody is lying. Next, another similar one here is someone who is lying may rub around or directly on their eye.
Are you born again?
Yeah. I mean, when I was a young girl, I remember looking around the beauty of Alaska.
Essentially what this is that they don't want to see the person that they're deceiving. It's making them uncomfortable. Onward, if someone is lying, they may rub or itch their ear. I hope you're noticing a trend with some of these. And this one too, like the last, is like they're subconsciously trying to hide themselves from their own lie. They don't want to hear themselves lying. Another one here, a liar might scratch their neck. By doing this, they're showing that they feel uncomfortable. Next, someone who is lying may have a shaky voice or gulp more often.
And I hope that's going well for you. What stage are you in?
One. In fact, my last, not if any. I go in next week. Well, no, it's this Thursday. I go in next week and do the rest of my blood work and the whole works and see where I'm at. But it looks as if September is going to be my last deal.
It's like because I don't need to flop. I play an aggressive game, but I don't flop. I've never been one of those guys. I don't even know how to do it. So it's like, okay, you're one of those.
This is a pretty obvious indicator and one that most people are naturally aware of. The person is clearly uncomfortable, which can mean that they're lying. Next, certain micro expressions are very important to keep an eye on. Now, for those of you who aren't sure what micro expressions are, they're an involuntary display of one's true emotion on their face. They generally only last for a split second and they conflict with the controlled emotion that the person is trying to convey. So to give you an example, let's say you dye your hair blue one day and you decide to show your friend. Not sure why you would do this, but apparently you think it looks good. So you meet with them to show off your new hair and you notice a split second of shock on their face right before they smile and tell you that it looks great. Well, that tiny shock is the micro expression. It's their true feeling about your crazy looking hair. So anyway, the micro expressions that can indicate lying include slight sneering and some muscle twitching on the face.
I gave the description as best as I could. You have to understand also that it's Chicago.
in winter.
Whether I believe some kind of activity falls within that definition or outside that definition, I'd be happy to try to answer that.
Well, I have a question regarding your definition.
Next, you might see increased blinking.
I knew that in the face of their illegal activity, I still had to behave lawfully. But I wanted to be legal without being particularly helpful.
Or even very little blinking while they're speaking to you, almost like they're trying to control it, followed by lots of blinking after they've spoken. But keep in mind that this all depends on their normal blinking pattern. Following along here, another indicator of lying is sweating. This is another obvious one. The person is uncomfortable and their body can't seem to hold it back. Sticking to the same sort of theme here, pulling the collar can indicate lying. This mainly happens if the person is feeling angry or frustrated and wants to let off some of the increased heat that they're feeling. Again, they're uncomfortable. Next, fidgeting can be an indicator of lying, particularly if they're fidgeting with their whole body and they can't seem to sit still.
And my question is oral sex performed on you within that definition as you understood?
They're clearly nervous and uncomfortable, but again, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're lying. It could be, but they could just be nervous. Wouldn't it be nice if it was just black and white? Moving on, this is an interesting one. If someone is lying, they may smile less. Again, it all depends on their normal behavior. If they usually don't smile much, then you may need to look for other indicators. Next, a difference in eye contact can indicate lying. So this can either be avoiding eye contact or holding it for too long. It all depends on what's normal for that person.
Did not heed the calls by the police to stop and ultimately was shot further down. The point that you made, and obviously picked up by a lot of the local media here, the individual was dressed in camouflage. I can tell you he was a male. Can't really tell you. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, you know, and this is important because, you know, you're covering this story live and you're seeing it once and you're actually witnessing it, not knowing what you're seeing until you actually process it. But in the video that we have, that you have.
And finally, someone who is lying to you could be aggressive. So they could be pointing at you or raising their voice.
Like, people kill me when they say things like that, because it's like Subway is open 24 hours for a reason. So that when you're hungry at night and you ain't got no food, you go to Subway.
If it can't be any clearer than I've never taken drugs, then incidents like that could never have happened. Okay. How clear is that?
This is their attempt to push you back and to try to bully you into not questioning them. This can be a great indicator. And that's it. I'm sure there's some things I didn't cover. However, I went over the major things to look for and the things that you're most likely going to come across. That said, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like and subscribe button. Ring a ding ding that notification bell to stay up to date on all new videos. And as always, improve your body, improve your mind, improve the world.